Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ron HD. So yeah, this is going to be a great time. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ron HD, and we watched The Barbarian. As you can see, the poster is right there. And I fucking great. Loved it. It was amazing. Probably the best horror movie I've seen this year so far. And it just, I say this every time I see a really good horror movie, but it just re-invokes how much I love horror movies. But it didn't. I just realized I'm an idiot for saying that I don't like horror movies, because I obviously fucking like horror movies. And I always lie to my, well, I don't, whatever. I really liked it. I thought the directing was great, the acting, the story was really engaging, the horror was actually scary and got me, like, really got my blood pumping, man, really got my, like, I could hear my heartbeat. It was that nerve-wracking. It was amazing. And I have a lot more to say, and I'll say that back at the house.
This process might seem overwhelming, but with a little practice, it can soon become a pleasurable experience. This is perfectly natural.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ron HD, and this week we watched Barbarian, starring Georgina Campbell, Bill Skarsgård, Justin Long, and as the antagonist, Matthew Patrick Davis. And it was written and directed by Zach Kreger. And honestly, this movie was fucking great. This movie is I would describe it as a horror thriller. And yeah, I love horror thrillers. You know, that's probably my favorite kind of horror, right next to psychological and experimental horror, obviously, and also B-grade horror films. I like a lot of kind of horror films, but that's one of my favorite genres, is the thriller kind, because it gets you on the edge of your seat, gets your blood pumping, you know, really gets your adrenaline rush, you know, like, you're like, what the fuck's gonna happen? That's the same thing with psychological, and that's why I love psychological horror that much. This movie I could describe as a horror thriller, and it was just fucking great. The performance was great, the writing was stellar, and this was Zach Kreger's first, like, major writing role, was with this. And I think he's directed and written other things, but they've been, like, an episode or two on, like, a TV show. This is, like, a big Hollywood movie. And he would fucking hit it out of the park. I can't wait to see this guy's other movies, because it was amazing. Like, this film was really well written. Like, the characters felt like real people. You know, they talked like real people. Some of them were a little exaggerated, and there were certainly scenes that were very, very exaggerated. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say what it is, because that's one of the best parts. But it's fucking great. But this film is just so visceral. It's very, like, dark, but it's also just entertaining. You know, you could be, like, shitting your pants 1 second, and then laughing, or, like, just, like, pointing at the screen and going, oh my god, that's fucking great. You know, like the other. Like, it's that great. And it doesn't break, like, your, is it immersion the right word? Yeah, immersion. It doesn't break your immersion in the film. It doesn't break your, like, engagement in the film. You know, you really are I was so enthralled in this movie the whole time. There were some parts that were so scary, I literally, like, covered one of my eyes with my hands. Like, I closed my eyes. It was that scary. And I don't get scared by movies that much. This was pretty scary in my opinion. Before you realize what the monster is and what it does, like, and why it's there, I was fucking terrified, because the monster is legitimately scary. Sorry, there was a bug. But, the monster's, like, really gross and really just nasty, and they explain why it looks like that later on, and it makes a lot of sense. The way that the monster looks is for a reason, and it's actually a sympathetic antagonist. I'm not going to call it a villain, but it's a sympathetic antagonist, because you can feel bad for it, because it doesn't want to be there, you know? It didn't want to be a part of this. It was like, kind of forced there, you know? And I don't know, I I think Georgina Campbell, I feel like this is also her biggest role, in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, I guess she was, but, yeah, I went through her entire IMDb page, and for me, most of the stuff I didn't even recognize. Most of the stuff I didn't even know. So, this is, in my opinion, her biggest role. I think this is Georgina Campbell's biggest role, being, like, in a big blockbuster Hollywood, not blockbuster, like a big Hollywood horror film. She's a main character in this film. And that's big. Being a main character in a big Hollywood horror film is big. And I hope actually her career, like, really, it's just, I want her to be in more movies. I want it to skyrocket. I want her to be in so many more movies because she's such a great actress. You know, I think she's great. She's really good in this movie. She's really believable. And I don't know, I really liked it, and I want her to be in more movies. Please hire her. She's great. And I really liked her character too, but easily my favorite character is Justin Long's character, AJ. He is fucking a terrible person, and it's great. Justin Long is great at playing a terrible person, and it shows. Like, you know, there are certain actors that are great at playing great people, and there are certain actors that are great at playing awful, terrible human beings, but you just can't hate them because they're so entertaining. That is Justin Long's character in this movie. He is probably the most entertaining part about this movie, aside from, like, the obvious horror movie stuff, because, like, every time he's on screen, it's funny, because he always makes, like, a funny, because he's, like, so awful, you just laugh at him, because you can't believe somebody would be this awful, but it's real, like, people like him actually exist. I don't know, I like Justin Long. I didn't really know much about Justin Long before this movie, but now I'm a Justin Long fan. I want to watch more Justin Long movies. So the thing about Justin Long in this movie is he's really fucking funny. He's fucking great. But he's also a terrible person and a douchebag. But that's the best part. That's what makes him entertaining. Because he's such a douchebag, it's hilarious. I'm not going to spoil the scenes, because some of the best scenes in the movie are with Justin Long. And his dialogue is just so amazing. Like, he's a douchebag and a terrible person, but he's a believable douchebag and a believable terrible person. And it's great. Like, all these people feel like real people to an extent. And even the monster itself is somewhat believable, for, like, horror movie standards, at least. Because it's not, like, some kind of magic creature. I mean, there are some pretty, like, wonderful, like, wonder magic, like, pretty over-the-top things that the monster does. And obviously, being a horror movie monster, it can take quite a beating. But, because that's just law in horror movies. You can't have your monster be like a twig. You know what I mean? Your monster has to be able to take a beating, because if it can't, then how are you going to make your fucking sequels? You know, how are you going to make Friday the 13th 22? You know? Like, how are you going to make 5 million sequels if the monster is a pushover? You know what I mean? But that's just principle for a horror movie. You know? But I don't know. I love this film. Every actor that was in it was great. I think the effects were great. The blood was especially amazing. The little gore and kills that were there were all great. I don't think there was one bad kill in this movie. I really enjoyed all the kills. One more thing. I just think, I'm not going to spoil what the monster looks like, but it's grotesque. Like, it's really grotesque and really gross and really nasty. But that's the best part. I think the monster has a really, like, I don't know what it's like, but I think how horrific and how, like, scary it is, especially when it's in, like, the underground basement, like, part. It's really scary. Like, it looks like a really scary creature before you realize what it actually is. And I really like it. I just really like the monster and what it is, because, I don't know, I just think it's not cool. Because I don't think you could call a monster like it cool, but I just think it's interesting. And the special effects are great, too. I like it. Honestly, I highly recommend this film. I feel like if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of thrillers, if you're a fan of, like, if you're a fan of movies, go watch this film. This film is amazing. I absolutely adore it. And honestly, if I didn't have to watch another movie every week, if I had my own money, if I was able to go to theaters on my own, I would totally rewatch this film in the theater. I would totally go watch it again and again in the theater, because it's just so great, and I feel like experiencing this movie in the theater is the best way to watch it. Like, I would definitely want to experience this more than once in the theater, if I could. If I didn't have to watch another movie next week. But it's amazing, and I love this movie, and I highly recommend it. I'd rate this film a 9 out of 10. I don't give these off very often, but I'm going to give this film a 9 out of 10. Absolutely recommend it. I think I've said my piece. You know, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you liked it. I hope you share with your friends. Subscribe, turn those notifications on. Comment down below on how much you liked it. But, you know, I didn't mean any of that. What I really meant to say was, if you guys hated this video, unsubscribe, dislike it, tell me, hate me in the comments. Signing off. You know, this review might be over, but I'm not going anywhere. Close the trunk.
Close the trunk!